Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Saurabh Goveja, and I'm the CEO of Brands of Desire, a brand consultancy based in New Delhi, Mumbai, and Munich in Germany. Today, I have with me a very esteemed panel of entrepreneurs who are representing the aggregators industry. I believe many of you sitting here are upcoming startups, early stage, mid stage. Some of you are trying to aggregate something or the other. Shrikant spoke about aggregating data, and of course we've got a lot of interesting things. Wow, that sounded like an earthquake. Yeah, but it was just a sound, so we're okay. Yeah, great. So the way we've structured this panel is that we earlier had 5 panelists, now we have 4. To my left is Kanika, Akrit, Santosh, and Amit. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take 2 to 3 minutes to introduce each one of them, and post that we will ask 3 questions. These questions are pre-decided, and the idea is that you're going to get some structured answers around the same questions from each one of them. So that means you have a unique point of view based on how they built their enterprise. And after that we'll have about 8 to 10 minutes for an open session where we have the audience asking their questions to our panelists. So great. So what I'm going to do now is start the introductions. So Kanika Tekriwal to my left. Okay, so here is a short story about her. A little over 5 years ago, Kanika was diagnosed with cancer and consoled those around her saying, "Don't worry, in 5 years I'll be on the cover of Forbes." Fast forward exactly 4 years, 11 months and 21 days later, she found herself in the Forbes 30 Under 30 Asia. BBC's 100 Most Inspirational Women in the World, and a host of other accolades. She's redefining the way corporate India travels, operating and managing a host of private jets and helicopters across the country. Popularly known as the Uber of private jets, Jet Set Go is the enterprise she set up. It has gone from operating 1 flight a week to 1 every minute of the day. Jet Set Go is redefining private aviation every day. Can I have a big round of applause for her? Thank you. Akrit, to her left, is the co-founder and CEO of Haptic, one of the world's leading mobile personal assistant platforms. Akrit started the company from his house in 2013, and as of June 2016, it employs close to 500 people and has marquee investor partners such as Times Internet and Kalari Capital. Akrit has been responsible for pioneering the concept of chat-based assistants way before companies like Facebook and Google launched assistants in 2016. Prior to Haptic, Akrit was an early member of the team at Flurry, one of the world's largest mobile analytics and advertising platforms, acquired by Yahoo in 2014. Akrit received his BS in Industrial Engineering from the University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign, and was named as a contender to the Forbes India 30 Under 30 list in 2015. Can I have a round of applause for Akrit? Santosh, to his left, is the founder and CEO of Explara, first few in the world to launch a do-it-yourself event platform in 2008 for ticketing and event management. Bootstrapped for 3 years and personally bankrupt for several years, he didn't give up the hardship. In 2015, Explara powered 50,000 plus events in 72 plus cities in India. Santosh has a decade of diverse experience in the software industry across the world and was involved in building products for BBC, iPlayer, eBay UK, and several startups before starting up Explara. Santosh is determined to democratize event organizing across the globe and taking Explara to the globe via Southeast Asia. I would request each one of you to give him a big round of applause for his success. And finally, Amit, to the left of Santosh. Amit Agarwal is an engineer from IIT Kanpur and an MBA from IIM Ahmedabad. He's the CEO and co-founder of NoBroker.com. NoBroker connects owners and tenants directly with each other and removes the broker entirely from real estate transactions. This usage of internet and technology has created disruption in an age-old industry. No broker saves 18 crore of brokerage every month. It adds 1 lakh new customers per month and has recently touched 10 lakh customer mark. NoBroker.com is the market leader in Mumbai, Pune, Bangalore, and Chennai, and plans to expand to Delhi NCR in the next few months. And I was having a small dig with him that he apparently claims no broker, and he apparently is becoming the largest broker now for real estate. Yeah. Can I have a round of applause for him before we begin our panel? Thank you very much. So great. So here is my first question to the panelists, and I'm going to be a very, very strict moderator, as I've already told them before. You have exactly 2 minutes to give your answers. Yeah, each one of them. Yeah. Okay. So Kanika, for you. So what has been the single biggest inspiration behind your venture? And what is exactly the problem you're trying to solve?
To answer the first part of your question, I think the biggest inspiration behind my venture was 5.5 years ago. I was working in London when someone came up to me and said, oh, you want to go back to India and set up something in private aviation. It's not going to work. India and business aviation don't go together. So I think that's where the seed was sown. And I made up my mind that I am going to put Indian private aviation on the global map, as ambitious as it sounds. The problem I'm trying to solve, I think all of us in this room are trying to solve problems which we think are rather huge. But to me, the problem was both supply-facing and demand-facing. So, you had a whole bunch of private jet and helicopter owners whose assets weren't being utilized as much as they should be, taking up their costs and decreasing their profits. Whereas on the supply side, customers were very irate with the fact that they were dealing with a very opaque market. They believed they weren't getting value for money. And there was a widespread feeling of being cheated all the time. So, I remember a customer coming up to me and saying, Kanika, why is hiring a private jet in India as good as rocket science? So, for a lot of time I thought over what could we possibly do to change this and bring transparency in the market and increase utilization. And that's how JetSetGo was born, to basically bring together every private jet and helicopter in the country on one common platform, give customers real-time choice, real-time availability, and real prices, as well as increase utilization for owners.
Thank you, Kanika. And just to add to what she's just said, and we spent some time a little bit before, what I understand is that she's now in the process of taking this to the next level. They're already maintaining and overhauling the operations of the aircraft. So in a way, they are actually aggregating, and not just aggregating, but they actually can create their own airline out of JetSetGo. Yeah,
yeah, pretty much.
Which is with all the private jets. So great. Congratulations, Kanika. Akrit, again to you. So what is the single biggest inspiration behind your venture? What are you trying to solve?
Hi everyone, good afternoon. Anyone sleeping yet? Post lunch? Get up. Okay, thanks. So the way we sort of got started was I was based in the US and I was working in San Francisco in Silicon Valley. I was working at the tech startup. This was about 2009 when the iPhone was about 1 year old. Actually, iPhone was 2 years old. The App Store was 1 year old. And everything that you found on the streets of San Francisco was, just apps, more apps, everybody building a lot of these different apps. And one of the biggest inspiration for us, for me in the early stages, was this company at that time, which was about 12 people, small company, working out of a small suburb of San Francisco called WhatsApp. They were actually my customer when for the company that I was working for in San Francisco. And the kind of engagement even at that point that we saw with WhatsApp was staggering. And now obviously there are probably 5 people on WhatsApp right now. So, there was this belief that there's going to be a lot more happening on messaging, more than just talking to your friends and sending pictures. So the idea was that messaging should become a platform that allows you to do so many more things beyond just the basic stuff. That's where it really took off. We've been working on the idea since almost end of 2011, launched the company in 2013, and what Haptic does is you can get sort of anything done over chat or mobile messaging. So you pop the app open, you send in a request saying, hey, I need to make a restaurant reservation or need to make a flight ticket, I'm looking to make a hotel reservation, or order food or book a cab, any of these various use cases. And then we have a combination of people as well as automation or chat bots, as it's referred to today, that take care of the request for you. So that's what Haptic does. In terms of our challenge, I think was the second part. I'm already over 2 minutes, I think. I think for a challenge piece, the biggest challenge for us now, of course, except the day-to-day challenges that all of us face running companies, is that we're in a space now where if eventually we have to become a really, really sizable business, people have to start using Google a little less. So in that sense, our competition is pretty cutthroat, and we have to continually, try and innovate enough that we can keep pace.
So just staying on the challenge, because you've already answered your second question as well, and you're not going to get 2 minutes again.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
The competition part?
That's okay. But I'll continue with the challenge part. Do you think that, I mean, in a world where everybody's promoting do-it-yourself,
Right.
you really need a concierge service, whether it's chat-based, non-chat-based? Don't you think everyone is just going to be like, hey, I can do it myself? And with all these engines getting smarter and smarter with
Right.
time, do you see that as a challenge?
So, stepping back again to why we're doing this and what we're seeing in terms of how the app works, right? So, if you think about broadly how people got done things in the world, right? Let's step back, let's say 30 years back or 40 years back, when there was no internet. When there was no internet, you would unfortunately have to get up from your seat, right? Go somewhere and get something done. How much pain does that sound now, right? That was how we used to get things done. We used to go to a store, ask someone, help us, ye dikhao, wo dikhao, or a travel agent, and then get that done. Then came the internet, or let's say the desktop, right? Where then it was a search away, right? I would go type something in a search bar, open up like 7, 8 links, go and get it done very easily. The thing with the smartphone, what changed is the difference between, let's say, links or websites and apps, right? It's not as easy on a smartphone anymore to, for every single thing that you want to do it yourself. It requires you to invest and download that additional app. It requires you to sign up, log in, put all that effort in. That's way too much effort, right?
Great point.
So what we are seeing is we're actually going back now to pre-internet, using internet, where people are still coming to us and saying, ye kar do, wo kar do, help us do this, but in a more convenient manner.
Thanks, Akrit. So basically for all the lazy guys like me, and
All of us.
okay, Santosh, the first question for you.
Great. So the inspiration has been, not sure where the inspiration has been, always wanted to start. So this is my third startup as such. So as Akrit mentioned, so similar background, worked in London for 8 years and started one company in 2005 there, failed, started another company in 2006, failed. Used to go out to a lot of events, and so that's where this idea came in saying, and I looked back India when I had started up in Pune that time and figured out that there was no platform as such which can help anybody to do an event on your own using the tools and technologies that you can do without depending upon somebody. But there was way ahead where even my dad, being a banker, he said that I'm not going to give you any money as such because I don't know how big this industry is going to be ever. Right? So that was way back in 2008-9 when we have our dear friend Vijay Anand in Chennai did first startup event called Prodo in 2009. Starting from that to last year, when we analyzed Explorer's data itself, India had 1,500 plus startup events, and majority, 85% of the events were powered by Explorer. Right? So the inspiration has been that we got into an industry which is unorganized. I saw a potential of organizing it and bringing tools to get it, to make it happen. And that's one side of the inspiration. So the customers' feedback and all that loop and, tallying back to the world of London where you have in a week itself 5,000 events. So I still see a huge potential in India in terms of event being the mainstream and which is already happening. Now the challenges are huge, as mentioned, if you are getting into any unorganized industry which is not there yet, there will be a lot of ecosystem issues. Investors might not like it or might not able to get data. You would not able to get minimum basic investors to back you up. So that has been the hardship that we have to go through for the last 5-6 years, believing that that is going to happen. And last year was the testimony of 50,000 events happening in India was one of the factors that, there is more to come. And the challenges are equally huge. But I think as a company, we're looking at a worldwide scale where you have billions of Ticketmasters to Eventbrite to many other ones are still playing a big game. So we see that as equally challenge and opportunity for us to do.
Great, thanks, Santosh. You've also answered your second question regarding the challenge. Amit, for you, what's been your biggest inspiration? What problem are you trying to solve?
So the inspiration basically comes from us co-founders and our experiences with brokers. So we have shifted many cities and we have interacted with a lot of brokers, and our experience has been pretty bad. So the thought which came to our mind is that why should I be paying 1 month of rent to this guy who is using so less of technology and who is giving me a sloppy service and who is trying to manipulate into getting the deal closed faster rather than really working hard to get the right house which I want. And when we looked around, we found that everybody else is also working with brokers only. So when we looked at all these sites right from 9-10 acres to housing, we found that you might have good pictures, but eventually you end up getting connected with the broker itself. So can we really talk directly with the owners and tenants and solve this problem? So the problem which we are trying to solve is to reduce this information asymmetry between an owner and a tenant, a buyer and a seller, and to reduce this cost of transactions for every type of real estate transaction.
Great, thanks Amit. I'm just a little bit curious. Have you ever faced any threats from the broker community?
So we got attacked by 70 brokers
really?
Physically in our office in Bangalore, because we are saving around 18 crores of brokerage per month. So now we are on to another location whose address we don't reveal. So our Google address is false.
Yeah, so now I know the reason why your business card did not have an address. Yeah, who might turn out to be a broker. Okay, Kanika, challenge for you. What's been your biggest challenge? What are you facing right now as you scale up?
I think business-wise, the biggest challenge again was both customer-facing and supply-facing. Initially, when we launched, the suppliers laughed at us, aircraft owners laughed at us, saying, aap mobile pe plane bechoge. And we were like, yeah, give it a shot. Try us out. Then I've had customers say, is a 25-year-old girl going to sell us a plane? So, both ways. In the initial days, the first 1 year, it was a massive struggle to just convince people that, use the app, put your plane on there, see how things change. Or even like, our entire industry is where retail was before Big Bazaar came in. So you largely have people who are not formally educated in aviation, running these planes, being ops managers, ground managers, etc. They wouldn't communicate on email to do flight operations. So convincing them to use an app and actually, upload data on a phone was rocket science to us at that time. So, we had like one customer relationship manager to one person, and we would impart days and days and hours of training, incentivize them to use the app, use all sorts of dirty tricks to convince these guys that, you have to use your phone to go forward. So yeah, early, the first 1.5 years, convincing the suppliers was a nightmare. And then customer facing, we would do one flight in a week and get frazzled by just executing that one flight. So like I said, initially we were doing one flight a week and just telling those customers, use your phone, book the plane. They were like, nah, who uses a phone to book a 50 lakh plane journey? But yeah, now everything's changed. These guys are all using us. Every private jet owner is using us. And I think we've got a decent enough market standing for suppliers also to be using us. Customers also to be using us.
Great, thanks Kanika. And it's quite amazing that cancer was not even a challenge for you. Yeah. Again, over to you, Amit. Since we covered the challenges in between, what is the challenge that you face right now? What's the number one biggest problem for you before you reached here?
So there is no one single big challenge for us, because thankfully this was a huge disruption that we caused and a customer problem which was unsolved. So we are getting a huge amount of customer pull. Last month we reached the 10 lakh customer base mark. But one of the good innovation that we did to solve the problem, I will give you that example. So what used to happen in Bangalore is that in cities like Bangalore and Chennai and to some extent Pune, whenever a house owner, especially a standalone house owner, he wants to give a house on rent and wants to avoid a broker, he puts a to-let or a to-rent board in front of his house with his phone number, saying that if you are passerby and you are interested, then please give me a call and we can talk. So earlier we used to click photos of these boards and used to then give it to our call center, who will call and convert the customer and list the property. Then we thought, how can we scale this, because this is not really scalable. And so we had two options. One was to basically hire physical people on our rolls who will go around these cities and click photos and send to us. But because the objective is to remove a broker, we need to be very, very lean, and we can't increase our cost, and we have to find a scalable solution. So what we did was to crowdsource it. So now in our app, we have a feature called Click and Earn. So if you're a passerby, and you should try if you are in any of these cities, you can just click a photo and upload in the app, and the call center guy will immediately call the owner, will list the property, and within 24 hours, he will credit 100 rupees in your Paytm account. And it's such a big hit with young people, with students, that many people basically do it on a weekly off basis. And we are getting 25% of our total property listings through this innovation.
Wow.
And we are the first and the only company in the world to crowdsource the listings.
Great. Does that also answer the third question? Because what we could do is the third question could flow like this. What has been your biggest breakthrough, that aha moment? Just cracked it, man. This is what we were waiting for.
So basically, this is basically a long journey, so I don't think there was a aha moment. But to basically, I think one of the realization has been in the journey is that instead of focusing, so once you make a product and once the customers start flowing in, then the tendency is to basically make something which is glamorous. So basically make some product features which are good for PR or which the tech team feels very excited about. But the reality is that what is required even in till the journey continues is to look at small features which the customer wants. So for example, what happens in our case is that many of the tenants give calls to owners, and owners don't pick up the phone because they don't know who is calling. So what we have done is that because the apps are installed on both the phones, so when a phone comes, then it blinks that this is a tenant from no broker. So because of it, a huge amount of success rate has increased in terms of picking up the phones. Similarly, a thing which we were earlier trying to solve the problem of only closing the matching of owner and tenant, but the owners and tenants also want the rental agreement to be done. So we solved that problem. So basically we tied up with vendors, and now the rental agreement gets delivered to your home, gets created on.
Great. Thanks. Santosh, you've been part of 3 startups. I think startup is like too easy now, right? Yeah. But what according to you has been your breakthrough moment while building Explorer?
So as rightfully said, it's more for me it's more of a journey, right? So, but I think a couple of factors which makes every business tick or you think happy about is that when we were analyzing the data, in the last year or so, because we picked up, we 50,000 events last year, we realized that 70% of the growth is happening because of the repeat customers, and that was an aha moment, really aha moment, because it's not easy to reach a scale with almost zero marketing and just a focus on your product and on your customer relationship. I think that was the biggest aha moment we had. Otherwise, the focus is to add value because we are the first one to land or start in India. So there is nobody else that we can look and say, oh yeah, that works for them. Should we try that? So we didn't do that because there was nothing like that. And even at the case of Eventbrite, we've done a lot of things which Eventbrite has not done it. And those has worked out brilliantly well in India. Last year, for example, we saw that when you're doing an event, it's so easy that you organize the event, but you don't market it.
Yeah.
All right, so we come up with a concept saying, can we do an APM, event performance marketing, that way we will help you market it out. And there are partnerships, there are distribution there, and that really worked out. And a small thing, we've not done it at a grand scale, but again, we liked it, the fact that we can add value there. Similarly, there's another one which we just started, and we're already getting customers coming in, which we were debating during our coffee conversation, is we are now getting into event engagement and event day mobile apps, right, where we see the participants can easily interact, ask questions, polling, and all that things could be done. And we've just trialed it with a couple of events, and it's again a good aha moment there.
Thanks, Santosh. Akrit, on Father's Day, you launched something very interesting. You want to talk about it? It was some chatbot. How was it? How did it perform? And then probably you could talk about your biggest breakthrough till date.
Yeah. So these are things that I guess are the fun parts of doing a company like Haptic or being a part of a startup, right? Where on a Thursday night, someone will come up with an idea that will sound really stupid, and then by Friday morning, someone already implemented it. So one of these ideas that sounded absolutely stupid when it first came about, but we actually did it and it became, I think it's going to be one of the top 3 or 4 marketing campaigns of the year, is we launched on Father's Day something called as Baap Bot. So basically what that did was, there was a new category created in a haptic that was called Baap. And you could go inside and you could send a message, similarly like how you would to an assistant a request, and then the bot would respond back in a sarcastic Indian father mode. So basically, for example, if you sent a request saying, I want to go watch a movie, it would respond back, पैसे क्या पेड़ पे उगते हैं, right? Secondly, if it would say, can you make me a table reservation, it would say, घर पे कितने बजे आओगे, right? And that is, like I said, it started out literally on Thursday night, something someone just said, hey, this would be fun to do. We built it, launched it. Those 3 days, we saw the most number of new user sign-ups at Haptic that we've ever seen in the history of Haptic, actually. So that was a really cool campaign. Getting to specifically, sorry, what was the question? The breakthrough aha moment.
Yeah.
We haven't had it, I'll be honest. We are still working on it.
Funding doesn't count in aha moments these days.
Yeah, definitely not, right? I mean, funding is survival, I guess. No, we haven't had a aha moment where I can go out and say, great, this thing works amazing, and this is exactly the product that we want to build. It does work amazing. Please download it. But you know, it's not gotten to the point where I think we want to be. That said, you know, a couple of things that I was mentioning to the group before we got in here. These are not aha moments, but let's say these are moments that validate that we are somewhere on the right track. First one being that among the top 30 lifestyle apps in India, we are the highest rated on the Play Store. And we are the only ones that have been given a top developer tag by Google. So if you go to the lifestyle category in Google Play, and you see the top apps, we are the only ones that have the top developer tag. So that's amazing. That meant like, okay, fine, there's something going on right over here. And then the second one was survival, like what we mentioned, like what I mentioned to you. So when we started the company back in 2013, there were 2 companies like this in the world doing it, us and a company in the US. Last year at the same time, 12 months back, there was about 50 only in India doing it. And this year, as of this week, there's about 3 left.
That calls for an aha moment.
So, you know, I guess one of the things that everyone, I think all of us will vouch for over here, you learn as entrepreneurs, is that survival is another form of victory. So, you know, we're quite excited about the road ahead.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea when you wake up every morning and say, hey, I'm still alive. And in the startup world, it's more so. For Jet Set Go, what's been your aha moments and what's been that big one? Was it the Forbes cover or?
No.
No, not so important.
Actually, you know, when that happened, it was like, oh, it was this easy. I should have thought of something cooler. No, honestly. But, you know, I think everyone is going to think we're a bunch of really boring people who had no, like, cool moments in life. But I couldn't agree more with everyone here. Every day is literally an aha moment, and I think that's what all of our take back should be. That, you know, there's the smallest things that happen every morning where you get your first customer, your first round of funding, your first happy customer, your first employee, your second employee, your 100th employee, your second office, or where you need to keep moving office. So, you know, I mean, the amazing part of being an entrepreneur, I think, is that you have big and small aha moments every single day. And it's very difficult to justify which would be the coolest or not so coolest. Biggest learning as an aggregator in specific, I think, would be that, I mean, all of us are aggregators here, but, you know, controlling the quality of service and controlling the delivery is probably the biggest challenge any company or any business will face. You have aggregators popping up dime a dozen, but what survives? What is survival of the fittest? When you control the service and the quality. You know, we realized that very, very early in the game when we had an operator call us up and say, sorry boss, I can't do your flight, which is 2 hours later, with, you know, one of India's richest people on board. I was like, why? Oh, my pilot's not turned up. So it wasn't the operator who lost face. It was Jet Set Go who lost face. I mean, we didn't lose face. We paid double the money and we got another plane for the customer. But I would have lost that customer forever. So, you know, we realized on the very early days that being an aggregator is just not enough. You're going to be wiped out very, very soon. You lose customers, you lose suppliers. You've got to take control of the quality and deliver. So, which is when we started doing a lot of backward integration, like he mentioned. We started managing planes. We started going to owners, you know, big multinational owners company owners, people who manufacture cement, real estate, etc., saying, look, you're great at manufacturing cement, but you're not good at running your plane. So give us your plane, let us run and manage it. We'll make it profitable for you. And so I think the biggest learning has been, let's control the quality and deliver what you promise to your customer.
I just want to interrupt, sorry, one second, because this is something that I totally agree with, right? So, I don't know how much you guys see on this, but
the slot is not warranted, but you can go.
Yeah, sorry, I know, no, this is something very interesting, right? So we actually have changed the definition of product manager at our company, right? So when we started out, or even up until like 3 months back, product manager at Haptic was the guy who controlled how the app would look, what would happen to the app, how would the flows look, where will people tap on, what are people doing. And then probably that was an aha moment where one day I just realized and I was like, we are defining our product completely wrong. Our product is actually the chat experience. Our product is actually that delivery, right? So in case of Jet Set Go, the product is not the app. The product is the plane actually getting delivered. In your case, it's that event that happens. In your case, probably it's a transaction of real estate. So we've actually changed it where our product manager at Haptic now does apps at like 10% of what he does. The remaining time he spends on actually like chat delivery, working with the operators, making sure the service is going right, working with the bots. And I couldn't agree that we just realized that, that's all that matters. And, sometimes you question ourselves, what if we were to remove this app and only do on WhatsApp? How much of a difference would that make, right? And we realized that if we're able to give a great service, how does it matter?
I think that's a very important point, which, as startup entrepreneurs, we experience several times. We don't really get to understand at the end of the day, what are we selling? We get too bogged down around the experiences around what we are selling and don't really care about what we are selling and its value proposition. So great point, Akrit, here. Now I'll open the, the discussion to the floor here. And we have time for at least 3 questions. 2.5, okay.
First, so I'm a big believer of multiplayers and more than one companies in the market. I'm not a favorable sort of one single player dominating the market. I don't think that's a realistic view of the world that we are going to live in. So taking the philosophical stand, I think there will be more competition for Explara in the coming days. But again, that is an equal opportunity for us to look into the industry, as rightly put it, what exactly services we are delivering, where we are missing it out, what new things that the that the event organizer might need it, and be speculative, equally innovative about it, and go. And I think that's the winner going to take all kind of approach, not just because we dominate and we don't let others come in. Others are going to come in. It's a very open market. So that's one thing. Contrary to the movie ticketing business and all that, this is a very open world, in the event, and it's a world where anybody can do an event, while movie is only dominated by large scale, sort of theaters or theater chains. So it doesn't get everybody to step into that. But events is an open format, so more players are going to come, and it's good for India that more players would emerge and rule the global market in a way.
That's the right way, yeah. Great. Yeah.
So, we look at it a little similar at the same time, a little different.
Is this how you remind that the time is up?
So, the whole, like the chat bot / chat commerce industry is so new. I think everyone's figuring it out. And the fun of what we do every day is figuring it out alongside a Facebook and a Google, right? They do something, then we'll do something that they did. Then we will do something and we'll see, oh, they implemented something. So it's like everyone's trying to learn from each other, right? Because that's how you got to build a company. So it's too early. I mean, we are, as of today, the second biggest chat commerce company in the world. And we have about 1.1 million users.
Wow.
So, I mean, there's such a long way to go, right, for everybody. So, when Facebook bot launched, funnily enough, again, we are the kind of people that we were so happy. We were like, yes, there's someone that, we can fight this fight with now. So we're very excited about them doing this. I think until the shift happens, in the US, it'll be at least 12 to 18 months. In India, it'll be at least 24 to 36 months. So we have that window to go and keep building it for this side of the world and go from there.
Until Facebook acquires you for a couple of $1 billion.
Yeah, hopefully, we'll see.
Yeah, okay. Great. So one half question, maybe, before I summarize the discussion today. Anybody? Wow, what a nice audience. Okay, so I have 4 or 5 key learnings that you might just want to take away from our fantastic panel. The first and foremost is you got to really, really worry about the quality of the service you're doing. And you have to focus on the smaller improvements. not like the big things. If you can focus on the small things, that's what's really going to develop a great customer experience and loyalty for you. Number two, you got to be very innovative in your marketing. Some of the ideas we heard here are completely out of the box. It's not just about the big dollars that you need to spend to attract customers to you. You can be extremely innovative out of the box and can crack it. Number three, you've got to treat your startup like a journey. You're not going to have one big aha moment one day. You've got to enjoy every small moment of success that you get as an aha moment, and you've got to celebrate it. Yeah. And the fourth part, do not just focus on how you're going to sell your product. Sometimes spend some time on your product as well, right? And that's something which I see a lot of startups that we do. It's all about the user experience of the app, and we forget what we're trying to sell. Yeah. And finally, it's not about competing with each other. Let's not worry too much about that. I think there is so much to learn from the competition around us. We can all coexist, co-create, maybe get acquired or just acquire someone. So I think it's very important to have players in the market, and that's something we should be very worried about if there are no players and you're alone. Yeah. So with that, I'd like to say thank you so much to my great panelists. I think we had a great session. Would you agree? Yeah. Great. Thank you very much. Yeah.